This is just the beginning. This is one of the pieces to many pieces. You know, it's not, oh, this one player is going to send the Bears up over the top. No, you're correcting a major deficiency on your football team. This is one piece of three pieces that need to happen for you.
So we have breaking Bears news. We are the home of the Bears, ESPN 1000. And the Bears have made their first alteration, I like to call it, to their very, very mediocre offensive line. I think you can close the books on Tevin Jenkins. Jonah Jackson, who was a Pro Bowler in Detroit.
In his second year, yeah.
Right. He played 100% of the snaps. He had Ben Johnson as his passing game coordinator and then signed a big deal with the Rams, only played 4 games, was banged up, and out for a 6th-round pick. What do you think?
I think you've got a general manager that loves to trade his draft choices that he has. Mm-hmm. Secondly, if your head coach wants a guy that he's familiar with because he wants somebody there that understands exactly what he's looking for and how he wants to play, sometimes you've got to listen to that head coach and go out there and get the player that he knows is going to be able to perform for him. There's always a certain type of familiarity out there between coaches and players. And if they get a chance to be in a position where they can get one of those guys back, they make the request and they go about the business of getting it done. It's 2 years, $26 million, $9 million this year, $17 million next year. So it's 26, it's $13 million. I don't know who you're going to pull in here. I don't think Jenkins was going to sign for $13 million a year and stay here. Theoretically, you're looking for an upgrade. I think you might have gotten an upgrade. This guy was a Pro Bowler at one time, so we'll see. I hate giving up the draft
Even
equity.
though it's a 6th-round pick?
I hate giving up the draft. Well, you don't have 4th-rounders. You know why? Because you've wasted all those with everything that you wanted to bring in last year and bringing in the offensive lineman from Yale so you can get a 5th-rounder last year. You traded a 4th-rounder this year. So you don't have any 4th-rounders left. So the only thing you got left is probably a 6th-round pick to go ahead and get him. And when you can get Deebo Samuel for a 5th-round pick, I have a feeling Ryan Poles now realizes he may have been overpaying for journeyman offensive linemen last year with 4th-round picks. So, you know, maybe the people are starting to understand that having draft choices is very important. But if your head coach wants them, this is the first of 3 offensive linemen you're probably going to have to bring in either via the draft or free agency. Mm-hmm. This is the way the business is done in the NFL. If you wanted them, you're going to have to give something up for them. The Bears did. Again, $13 million a year for 2 years. Now it's proof in the pudding. Now you've got to come in and play. I think he also knows, unlike with Nate Davis, I think he knows that this guy's not going to lay down like a dog. So I think he knows what he's getting in the player that he wants. So that's I give him the benefit of the doubt. You've got to give the coach the benefit of the doubt when he starts this whole thing off. He knows what he wants. He knows what he's looking for. He's working in conjunction with his general manager. And hopefully they hit on this guy, and this guy's going to be a stud to the point where they want to give him more money. That's what you got to hope for.
He is 28 years of age. Mm-hmm. The deal he signed with the Rams was total value $51 million, average $17 a year. Total guarantee, $34 million. He's the 3rd highest paid left guard in the National Football League. Landon Dickerson of the Eagles makes $21 million. Quentin Nelson of the Colts makes $20 million. Jonah Jackson makes $17.
Right. And again, not this year, though. And not what the average of his contract is, because 25 of that's already been paid out.
Correct.
So that's not our responsibility. His average is $13 million a year. Next year, he'll be $17 million. 9 and 17, 26. You average it out, $13 million a year. That's your obligation to the player. I don't think Tevin Jenkins would sign to the club for $13 million a year.
Agreed.
Hopefully, he's a better player than Tevin Jenkins. Hopefully, he's more available than Tevin Jenkins. He was early in his career, but last year he only played 4 games, which is probably what caused some of the concern for the L.A. Rams.
So if I told you that he is going to be your starting left guard, and he's a good guy, he's not Nate Davis who doesn't want to practice, and your coach said, Yerk, you're my GM, I need you to go get Jonah Jackson. I talked to somebody, they're going to move him, they're going to release him, he's going to have a lot of suitors. We can get him for a 6th-round pick, we got to do this. Would you be okay with it?
Yeah, I've got no problem with it. You didn't have to go through a bidding war. And again, it's that 6th-round choice. It's not a 4th-round choice. Mm-hmm. There's a difference when you're getting the 18th player in a draft as opposed to the 100. And remember, you got your third-round compensatory picks that are in there instead of the 190th pick. I mean, there's a little bit of a difference. You should be able to hit on a fourth-rounder easier than you can hit on a sixth-rounder. I don't have a problem, but it's just the beginning. This is just the beginning. This is one of the pieces to many pieces. You know, it's not, this one player is going to send the Bears up over the top. No, you're correcting a major deficiency on your football team. This is one piece of three pieces that need to happen for you.
Somebody up there told
the
me
beginning.
that Eberflus, the former coach, went to Ryan Poles and said, I need you to go get me Tremaine Edmonds from Buffalo. So he did.
Right.
And I said, Tremaine Edmonds hasn't played that well. He's not a $72 million guard.
But they liked him.
Linebacker.
Linebacker. They liked him in Buffalo. I mean, he was a good player, but they were going to have to make sacrifices in Buffalo.
Right.
So they knew they weren't going to be able to sign him. You brought him in here, and the combination of T.J. Edwards and Edmonds, you were hoping would be able to come in there and solidify things for you. When you've got a great defensive line, things are easier for your linebackers. Mm-hmm. You don't build with your linebackers and then try to go cheap on your defensive line. It doesn't work that way. It's never going to work out for the linebacker. The linebacker's going to have positive. Tremaine Edmonds, to me, has not played up to his contract period.
Agreed.
He hasn't.
But when
he's had some interceptions, he's had some other things. They had to have a game plan to replace the guy that they traded away, Roquan Smith. T.J. Edwards has been the better player of the two. And
there's no question.
Right. So if I had to put a grade on him and I gave Tremaine Edmonds, say, a 92%, I would have to give, no, not Tremaine Edmonds, T.J. Edwards. If I give him 92%, I'd have to come in at a 78%.
Yeah.
For Tremaine Edmonds. I mean, he's passing, but he's barely passing, and he's definitely not a superstar.
And he's grossly overpaid.
And nobody ever says these words. You'll never hear these words said, ever. But there's no value in getting rid of him. You get rid of him after next year. I've looked at the contract situation and the money that you would save. You might as well just pay out the money anyway, and then next year you can get rid of him when the cap hit is not that great. He's intercepted some balls, but nobody ever says these words, man, I need a Tremaine Edmonds-like linebacker. You'll never hear anybody in the NFL say, we need to get our Tremaine Edmonds on this team, because he's not that good.
So the pick that the Bears are sending, according to Patrick Finley, is the pick they got from the Steelers for Justin Fields.
Well,
we can close the book.
That's what you've turned. You turned Justin Fields into Jonah Jackson.
Correct.
And hopefully Jonah Jackson steps up and makes it happen for us.
And he is your starting left guard. Okay,
yeah,
so
that's what you're hoping for.
All right, they hoped to sign Trey Smith from Kansas City.
He's gone.
He's gone. He's off the board. $24 million a year.
He's gone.
So if I told you that they signed Kevin Zeitler from the Detroit Lions, he's a little older.
A lot older.
You'd get him on a one-year deal probably.
He's 34, going to be 35.
Correct. Good player, but he's getting older. Would you be cool if they get Drew Dahlman from Atlanta, as has been speculated, at center? They got Jackson and Zeitler at the other guards, and then draft somebody to give you young development. Would you be cool with that, or is that too old up front?
No, I need Dahlman, which I don't mind. Dahlman and the other guy that we just picked up, Jonah Jackson.
Yep.
And I think you need, I think you need one of those guards and/or one of those tackles that are out there in the draft. Will Campbell, if he's there at 10, some say he is, some say he won't. Yep. Mason Graham was never going to be there for you at 10. Now all of a sudden everybody's saying, oh, because he's got short arms, or oh, because he doesn't have the height. You know, John Randall didn't have a lot of height.
Right.
John Randall didn't get drafted in 12 rounds. John Randall's a Hall of Famer.
Correct.
So, you know, when the pundits get out there and they start talking about arm length, and then you look at the film of the way he plays, and if you don't understand the way he plays, it doesn't matter what his measurements are. He played in the Big Ten. He played against the best offensive lineman in the country. He was a very productive player. He's got pass rush moves. He doesn't just bull rush and try to get to the quarterback with the bull rush. If there's not a crystal clear understanding of what he can or can't do, then I can't help anybody that's out there. Now, if you're falling from 5 to 10, are you really falling? You're getting picked in the first round of the NFL draft
in the top
10. I mean, what are we really talking about? You know, people want to get, high and mighty and, ooh, look at me. That's fine. I wouldn't mind getting Mason Graham at 10 if he falls to there. And then you address your offensive line again at either 39 or 41.
Now, I believe in the Howie Roseman quote the other day, when you think you have enough interior, he's talking
interior
offensive
linemen.
and defensive linemen.
Pick more.
Pick more.
Yeah.
Yet, I keep hearing people who should know better. If Ashton Genty's there, you got to take him.
That's ridiculous. You just ignore all that. This is a draft that's deep in running backs. You can address the running back position further down the line. You don't have to worry about that.
You got 4 in the top 72. You'll find one.
Yeah, your greatest weakness on this team is the offensive and the defensive line.
Correct.
Period. That's your greatest weakness. You have to address that weakness now. Free agency first, and then through the draft. That's the way it works. Unfortunately, that's the situation you find yourself in. That's what you have to address because you chose to ignore it, because you chose to sign journeyman offensive lineman, one with an arthritic shoulder that you traded for a 4th rounder, even though he was probably going to get released.
You talking about Ryan Bates?
Yes.
Yeah, 5th rounder.
Yeah.
5th.
Well, it just one after the other.
Yeah.
You know, and so
Nate Davis was a bad signing.
that's why, unfortunately, you've got to correct it. I've never seen a guy fail upwards the way this guy has, Ryan Pauls. I've never seen it. It just one mistake, everybody gets blamed but him. And Ian Cunningham, his guardian angel, he's almost getting a job and he's interviewing for new jobs. Have you not seen what these two guys have been doing with this football team? Is everybody blind? They can't assess exactly what the problem is. The problem right now is your general manager doesn't know what the hell he's doing sometimes. And that's causing you problems as you move forward. But he's here. He ain't going anywhere. He seems to be simpatico with the guy that's in charge. I'm going to give him a new deal so he can be in line with whatever. Okay, fine. Even against all those handicaps, even against everything that you've got going against you, you've got those 4 picks in the top 75, so let's find a way to get it done. And don't screw up free agency the way you have a tendency to do. There you go.
Okay.
That's my positive words for the Chicago Bears.
By the way, this coming from Ian Rappaport, the Jets have now officially released Devontae Adams.
Officially released him. There you go. So he's out. He's out there. Somebody's going to pick him up.
Right. I interviewed him over during the season when I was doing a show with Mercedes Lewis. They're best of friends. They were together in Green Bay.
Right.
And I said, "Hey, brother, if you're not back there, why don't you come to Chicago?" He said, "The one place I will never play is Chicago. I'm a Packer through and through."
That's the way he feels. Could he go if the Giants take Aaron Rodgers? Could he go to the Giants?
Would be interesting.
Partner up with Malik Neighbors. That'd be interesting.
If you were the Steelers, would you sign Aaron Rodgers? They haven't had a quarterback since Roethlisberger.
You know, you look at his numbers he had last year, even though his interceptions were high, 28 and 12, I think it's still pretty damn impressive. He almost threw for 4,000 yards. I mean, just the raw numbers as you sit and you look at him. Now, I watched him play. It wasn't what you're expected to see when you see Aaron Rodgers on the football field. Well, he was still better than probably about 70% of the quarterbacks that were out there.
Okay, and if you matched him up with Mike Tomlin, do you think that would be able to work?
I think Mike Tomlin's a fantastic coach. I don't think he gets the amount of respect in Pittsburgh. They want Super Bowls. We've won 6 of them or 5 of them. We've been to a slew of them, blah, 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 blah. You get a lot of that stuff. He's had to manage more problems over there, and they came with the running back that decided he didn't want to play football anymore because he wanted to get paid. He went to the Jets, and he's out of the league. Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah.
Him. Antonio Brown, when Antonio Brown decided he wanted to become a social media starlet, and he decided he's going to go ahead and video everything that's happening and he got the best out of Antonio Brown.
Yep.
I mean, Antonio Brown was phenomenal with the Pittsburgh Steelers and then went on and started flaking out for the rest of his life, which is unfortunate for him, but those are the decisions that you make. Sometimes no amount of adulthood and or lecturing can save an individual for himself. So he's had to manage it. And then the Ryan Shazier thing, where Ryan Shazier has a career-ending injury. Then he had to manage the offensive lineman that wanted to go salute the flag because he had been in the armed services.
Correct.
Or his father was in the armed services.
Yeah, Villanueva.
Yeah, so he's got to settle everybody down when everybody's all hot and bothered. The man wants to go salute the flag, let the man salute the flag. You want to be a baby and take a knee? Go ahead and be a baby and take your knee. Do what you want, okay? But let's focus on what's important. The football's the important stuff. The virtue signaling, not so much. The football's the important stuff. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of Tomlin. Do I think Aaron Rodgers could be there with him? Yes. Do I think he could be with the New York Giants? Yes, I do. I think both of them. The problem is when you get Aaron Rodgers, you get his mouth.
That's true.
So are you willing to put up with his mouth? And now you're in New York. So you saw the way it was with the Jets. The Jets are the White Sox of New York, where the Cubs are the New York Giants of New York. That's it. So now you go to New York Giants, you got even double the amount of exposure that you were going to get with the New York Jets. So if you don't mind putting up with his mouth, it's all right. Because he's still going to do his guy, Pat McAfee, right? Mm-hmm. And he's still going to offer his thoughts and his opinions on you. So if you're willing to put up with it, then he might be worth it. But if you start to cringe and you start to get sensitive a month into the season when he decides to offer his thoughts on the world, then don't take him. Don't bring him in. You've got to be able to handle it if you're going to bring him in.
So I've always been a Rodgers fan. I like him.
Sure.
And I asked Devontae Adams, I asked Mercedes, I said, you guys have played with him.
Mercedes.
Yep. And they both said he's an awesome teammate.
Right.
Awesome.
Because they're around him all the time.
Correct.
They see all the goodness.
Yes.
They see how wonderful he is. Yeah, they don't see the 1 minute, 20-second snippet that they're going to capture and put out on the air.
We've got a clip. I'll have Chris see if he can find it. When Devontae Adams, I asked him about Rodgers and the Bears. We'll try and find it. It's classic Aaron Rodgers.
It's the way the man feels.
All right, 312-332-3776. What clock do you guys use here?